Good morning, everyone. So, welcome for joining the Teltonika webinar this morning. So, we are going to be discussing a bit about Teltonika brand. Nology is now one of the distributors of Teltonika. You have yourself this morning here. It's myself, Damien from the Vault. I'm one of the product managers looking after Teltonika. We've got Yakarin, who's our channel account manager, and we have Sebastian, who is our sales general manager. So today we're going to go a bit through a little bit more in depth and a little bit more of an overview in terms of what the Teltonika brand offers, where the best place for Teltonika to be fitted in the industries and certain market verticals. And we are going to obviously just go through a couple of our products here as well. We will open obviously as well to some questions and Q&A later, but just before we start, I just want to just get a request here from all our viewers. If everyone can hear us clearly, just please type on the chat and just let us know if all the sound is good from your sides. Thank you so much, Carolus. Thank you, everyone. Loud and clear. Great stuff. All right, so let's start and let's get going, guys. So first of all, let's start with you guys. So how are you guys doing this morning? Thanks yourself. Oh, I'm good. It's a bit cold this morning. I'm not gonna lie. We didn't expect Joburg to be this cold, but it's okay. Cape Town's weather's coming to Joburg, I believe. That is great because obviously look at Teltonika being an industrial type product. It's a great actual environment and weather for this type of thing to explain and go further in depth with it, guys. So what I want to start with, let's start with obviously having just a brief overview and introduction of what Teltonika is and what the company is about and obviously the products itself.
So Teltonika is a global leader in manufacturing of IoT equipment. We've been around for about 25 years. And we, as Teltonika, the Teltonika Group, have 5 different companies that form part of our growth solution. We've got Teltonika Telematics, Teltonika Energy, Teltonika Telemedic services, and then obviously Teltonika Networks, where we have all our networking products, such as your switches, gateways, routers, and modems, and also some access points that we've recently added to our product portfolio.
So you've got quite a wide range, especially when it comes to the industrial product range. There's also obviously the market structure as well. So now obviously I'm going to have a look at this, and if you guys can just maybe give me a brief overview here of the Teltonika's vision for the future of networking and obviously their IoT devices.
So Teltonika is a company that is focused more on connectivity. I think our vision is that we want to be a global leader in the IoT connectivity space. One of our core principles is about open-mindedness. So when we look at connectivity, we look at creating a platform where you can connect anything to it. So we don't want to have restrictions in terms of how you can connect and what you can connect, and that is why our whole platform is built on our root OS is built on OpenWRT, where we actually help customers to have that level of integration, for any type of product that they need, in the IoT space.
No, that is great. Now, obviously, looking at certain aspects, obviously, as you mentioned, there with some of your vision, with some of the core aspects, with your open WRT operating systems and a couple of industrial aspects. I mean, what would be some of the core vision or core values, I should say, that set Teltonika apart from some of the other networking and IoT solutions in the industrial space?
So I think one of the things is that, I think a lot of people get confused about where Teltonika features in the industry. We are predominantly an industrial networking company on our side, on the networking side. Our products are geared more towards, like high temperature, low temperature, high humidity, very rugged outdoor type environments. Like some of the environments that we feature in is in transportation, where you're experiencing high levels of G-force in vehicles, or power switching on and off. Then we have mining, like the dusty type of environments. So we have our products are built around the usage case, around the environments, to survive for long, periods of time. We're looking at 5 years, 10 years in those types of environments.
Now, it's interesting you mentioned it was in vehicles. Obviously, your units and products are obviously vibration capable and obviously proof on, let's put it this way, they can handle a lot of vibration, bouncing, being thrown about, that sort of aspect.
Yes, our products are extensively tested for their robustness. And also some of our products are certified for passenger rail applications where there are quite a lot of vibration involved. So yes, our products are quite robust in applications.
Oh, no, that's brilliant. Now, Yakarina, now to bring us that point up, I would love to know, tell me a bit more on where's the highest adoption you've noticed in the Teltonika product range in various different industry verticals?
So in transportation specifically, it is one of our largest use cases worldwide. In South Africa, we implement quite a lot of routers into taxis, the minibus taxis, where they provide public Wi-Fi. There's quite a few projects that is ongoing and have been for a couple of years with that use case. And then also in the solar, energy and utility solar industry, it is being adopted to do remote monitoring of solar chargers and solar plants, etc. And then also the South African or the Southern African market has been adapting a lot of smart metering solutions, and where they're pulling through the legacy systems for you to be able to be an IoT application instead of the legacy systems. For that, we use protocols such as MBus and Modbus and on the RS485 on the device.
Okay, now you mentioned a bit there with the transportation, and you brought some units here as well.
Yes.
So just a quick one on that topic. Which unit, as specifically, if I may ask, have you got here that actually covers that whole taxi?
So the one that we most regularly sell into that market is the Route 906 and the Route 956. They're quite similar products, but they feature, if you look over here, you see there's the 485, there's digital IOs, there's the RS323, and then you also have the 4 LAN ports, which you can configure the one to a WAN port, so you have an additional LAN.
Well, that's great. And I mean, we do have those also in stock at the moment, so that's brilliant. So that's a very nice unit. And I love how it's also quite small. You can put it anywhere. It's also being rugged, and that can fit literally anywhere now.
Yes.
Mobile taxi, right? So now you mentioned a little bit on the Modbus, and I'm going to ask Sebastian here, in terms of Modbus, it's known for its simplicity, obviously, in a lot of the industrial automation applications, right? Could you just give a little bit more of an explanation of how this supports businesses and helps them obviously expand on certain communications and some of their monitoring?
So I think if you look at Modbus as a protocol, right? So Modbus was invented in 1979. That's when it had wide adoption in the industry. And since 1979 and 2024, and we still have large-scale automation facilities using that protocol. Now, when we're talking about 20 years ago, equipment still in operation, and with the evolution of IP technologies and things that have evolved, in 2024, we still need connectivity. We still need those equipment to be monitored and managed. So our equipment is able to provide you with the capabilities to connect to Modbus, to connect to Modbus protocols. And remember, that's taking place on the if you look at the OSI model on physical layers with RS485, and some still use RS232, but our products are developed to cater for communication along that, along with those automated devices.
No, that is great. No, as you mentioned with Modbus, and I know from coming from the industrial background myself, with especially being in certain, as you mentioned, their mining applications, some industrial plants as well. You have a lot of Modbus applications still in today's world. RS232 and 485 are still very widely used in these sort of aspects due to the fact that it's just, I know from my experience as well, they just never stop working.
Yeah.
It's not like you can have a simple break in one little fiber cable or a little tiny little cable somewhere along the lines, and then everything falls apart. Where RS485, I believe it's still running very nicely in a couple of mines that I've been into underground as well. But however, it's a lot warmer than our weather today. But just on that side, I just wanted to just touch on the fact of a little bit more on the protocol, because it's actually quite interesting for me. And I find it very interesting that, yes, Modbus being around for so long, we have things like Profinet as well, which I know is also predominantly quite used, and also still runs on also some of the RS485 type of connections, which you both get installed the actual connector as we have on some of these units, and you still have them using in straightforward I/O applications, or just a straightforward wire being connected. Now, with Profinet, can you just maybe give us a little bit more insight onto Profinet, if you don't mind?
So Profinet is also a technology, a protocol, that has a wide kind of like application. So Profinet comes from Profibus. Profibus is more the older technology, and Profinet has taken Profibus into the IP space. So, where Profinet used two-wire transmission, now we have Profinet that is taking your Profibus protocols, converting them to IP for transmission across the networks. So, it has its benefits because you can create much larger networks. I mean, remember your physical limitation on Ethernet cable is 100 meters approximately, but you can have multiple 100-meter connected to multiple switches and gateways and so on, and you can expand your network. So the benefits of Profinet is that you can create your own network topology, whether it's ring, whether it's star. It doesn't have that limitation as the Profibus protocol. So that's where Profinet has its features, where it's taking your automation into the IP space and giving you a lot more communication, a lot more control over your equipment.
And it's interesting. I like that you mentioned the ring topology, and I'm sure a lot of people, especially in the IT networking space, especially where I came from, not outside of industrial, we don't use the ring topology as much. But I know when it comes to industrial applications, the main thing is redundancy.
Yeah.
And redundancy, I know, is an important factor, especially in some of the aspects where we're dealing with plant applications or we're dealing with mining applications. Redundancy is a very important factor. And the more redundancy we can have is great. Now, as you mentioned, a ring topology, the nice part I know, and I'm sure as well with your guys' products too, is with the ring topology, we can send data both forward and backwards in that ring structure. So if you lose one link, you can still send data around, which makes, and that's what's the great part I like about Profinet. And it's still, funny enough, interesting that even today, we're so advanced with so many technologies, but certain aspects from our past still fits and still functions very well in today's world.
Yeah, I think to your point, another important aspect that is also becoming more important is about latency. We're looking at different technologies also having low latencies, and I mean when you're talking about real-time communication, you need to have less than 100 millisecond latency to have real-time view of your operational facilities, of your automated, of your plant equipment. So with a lot of the older technologies, there's a lot of those types of delays. You can't react immediately. That's where Profinet reduces the latencies as well to create a more real-time type of operation.
No, 100%. And I want to get back to on the Profinet, and we're going to touch a little bit more on the protocols, I think, a little bit later on. But one of the things I want to actually just go on to, and Karim, in terms of obviously, I mean, Teltonika, we know that you've got a lot of your LTE capabilities. You've got 4G, we got 5G, and then Wi-Fi aspects as well. So I want to just go on to how, on the wireless aspect, you guys have got your products future-proof, and also some of the aspects that are, backdated proof as well.
Yes. So our products, the 4G range are all backwards compatible to 2G, meaning that if your network fails you on the 4G, it will automatically fall over to 3G and then also to 2G. 3G is unfortunately being discontinued in South Africa and most other countries as well. But yes, the 2G technology will remain, and even our 5G devices are backwards compatible to the lower technology standards and the older technology. So we also have launched devices that have Wi-Fi 6 now, and yes, so the future is looking bright.
And it's actually interesting that you say that because I mean, especially with 2G, and also when you look at some of the applications Teltonika can be used in, especially with IoT and the industrial IoT or Internet of Things, I should say, right? In IoT space, we're not sending massive gigabits of data. I mean, we're working on little kilobytes and in some cases, maybe a megabyte or two here. And it's more along the lines of just a few little bits of pieces of, yes, this is currently performing as is. That's being sent as a small packet of, yes, we are working. And it's more alerting type of aspects, right? And I must admit, that's where the IoT side definitely comes in. And I actually want to just touch on the solar aspect. So, as you mentioned with solar, now, I know from my experience with solar, well, we all know load shedding. It's wonderful. But solar's become something great that we have now that's obviously, helping us with South Africa and helping us in our load shedding aspects. Now, obviously, that's up at data. We're getting this information from our inverters and so forth. And you mentioned we work a little bit in the EV space.
Yes.
Now, that is where I just want to just touch a little bit onto would that fall into your IoT side of things? Obviously, this has certain emerging protocols into it, but I just want to see how that's evolving and how you guys see the IoT space evolving here with Teltonika.
So I think a lot of so there's two sides to it. One is communication and one is application. So if you look at the communication layer, two things have been taking place. One is that devices have been getting lower power. That if you look at LP WAN type technologies like LoRa, like the IoT, we're looking at much lower power consumption. The second thing is the range has been increasing. So when you look at some ranges, you can get signal sent like about 5-10 kilometers. So that's one thing that's been taking place on the signal transmission. Then on the second level, you look at the application layer. Now you also need to look at like the application protocols like MQTT, like Core App, and a lot of those things that are on the communication layer that's actually bridging your communication, your sensors, and what you see. So like we were talking about, the amount of data that's being transmitted. We're looking at small chunks, like maybe 200 bits, like maybe 1 kilobit of data, 16 kilobits of data being transmitted to tell you that the temperature is 32 degrees. But if you are like sitting in Germany and your house is in South Africa, NB-IoT, those types of technologies needs to be transmitted over boundaries, over long distances.
Correct.
So that is why some cellular technologies, like if we look at 5G, 5G's subset includes NB-IoT as a transmission protocol. So you are able to transmit NB-IoT signals, through cellular networks to wherever you are in reading your application in Germany. So those are the two key parts that are constantly going to be developed.
No, that is brilliant. So obviously now with having those sort of aspects and those sort of protocols and structures built in, now we have the capability of now managing large scale networks. And I know from some of the products, I know such as your RUT 956, I believe, you have multiple devices. And I think you've mentioned as well, you have quite a lot of VLANs that can be put onto these units. Is that correct?
Yes, quite a lot. I think it's 1,000 on that specific unit on the 956.
1,000 VLANs, right? Yeah, no, that's a lot of VLANs to cater for and manage, right?
Yes,
Now,
but luckily our RMS system does that.
That is brilliant. So tell me a little bit more about this RMS system. I mean, obviously we got to, being coming from this world, we all know remote management now is a thing. We need to be able to see our products. We need to be able to control our, whether it be a normal network or even an IoT network or an industrial network. There needs to be some form of monitoring, remote monitoring. And I know Teltonika, you guys have this amazing system that you're capable of monitoring all your devices, right?
Yes.
That's from the beginning to end of the spectrum. Am I correct?
Yes, our switches, our unmanaged switches are not on
Fair
RMS.
enough.
However, all our other products are. And also you can manage and control third-party devices through our RMS system. It's not just Teltonika.
That's brilliant.
Yes, so our Teltonika Connect, the RMS Connect, offers you HD TPS connectivity,
Mhm.
SSH, desktop via VNC, and then SFTP and Telnet as well. So you are
Okay,
able
great.
to control and monitor products instead of just monitoring them.
Now that brings me to an interesting part because you mentioned now we've got Telnet involved, we've got SSH, we've got obviously HTTPS. Can you elaborate a bit more on the security side? Because I know in today's world, security is becoming more and more of a thing.
Yes.
I mean, especially when it comes to things such as, I mean, if we look at our industrial plants, we look at our mining aspects. I mean, there was quite some time ago when Stuxnet came about and everyone panicked, everyone freaked. And I think we've come heaps and bounds from Stuxnet side days to the point now where threats are a lot more, let's put it this way, intrusive. They're a lot more damaging. What type of security and how does the security aspect fall into obviously the Teltonika range? And how do you guys look at the security aspect and just elaborate more security wise? Because I mean, that is an important factor for today, in today's world, especially.
Yes. So our devices come with a built-in firewall. So from the moment that you plug them into your network, you already are protected. Teltonika does spend a lot of R&D time on security, and we do manage threats immediately. And that is all managed by new firmware updates, etc. And then also we offer VPNs that you can set up through our device itself instead of doing third party. So you are able to do that more securely.
Okay, that's great. And I mean, I'm not so sure, is some of this on the RMS side or on your system side that you can set up on the web portal?
Yes.
Oh, that is great because I mean, that's always a nice thing, especially when you have multiple installation teams and they're installing devices everywhere. Sometimes you need, it's easy for them to install the device and get it connected. And if you have the RMS side of things connected to your devices and managing the devices, you can easily have one technician configure all of these devices accordingly, right?
Yes, you can do all of that a bit more automated way on RMS as well.
That is great. I mean, I'm really, this is starting to sound more and more like we have covered certain aspects for the IoT in the future. And the last part is everything's industrial. They're rugged, you can handle it in a harsh environment. They can be thrown about. I still would love to try that test, but not today. Not today. I'm not throwing anything out windows or buildings yet. But apart from some of the aspects we've discussed, like I mean the solar, we've mentioned taxis and so forth, industrial plants. Is there other real world examples that we can touch on? I mean, what about things like building management and smart cities?
Yeah, so that is definitely applications where Teltonika can be used. So in the smart city and the building management vertical, let's call it that.
We can call it vertical industry markets.
Industry, yes. A lot of larger buildings are being managed by control rooms, where you have HVAC systems, you've got environmental sensors, you have the refrigeration and so on, right throughout a whole entire, for instance, in a 10-story hotel, you have thousands of devices, and that can all be managed through a central point by connecting them to an IoT device. Yes.
Oh, now that's interesting. Now I just want to just ask a question on that side. With obviously we've spoken about here some of the protocols like Profinet, and we've spoken about some of the IO ports and Modbus. With the Teltonika devices, I know quite a couple of them and majority of them have IO ports, right? So obviously we can connect various different sensors to these units. All right. So obviously they can control and we can use third-party sensors as well.
Yes.
Great. Okay. But I know you have a whole telematics range, which is also quite amazing. I've had a look at some of it. I know some of them are pictured here as well. But before we climb into sensors and a little bit there, there's so many features. I know, I mean, I've gone through your portfolio. We've looked through this. And there's so many various different features for me that stand out quite a bit. But from a Teltonika perspective, what features for you guys stand out the most?
Okay. There's quite a few features that do stand out from Teltonica's side, but I think the most important is the flexibility of our product. Our products are based on open WRT, and it's also some of our devices only feature one input, which is the RS323 or the 485, which makes it a bit more cost effective than having a gateway that has all the features. So we do try to keep our costs lower to our clients so that we can both benefit from the product. So Teltonika does offer dual SIM capabilities, and in one of our products, the Root X12, we offer a dual modem feature where the two modems can be aggregated into one stream of data, and then also when your one SIM card fails, the other one would be already online, so there won't be a fail over time.
So just to answer a question there quickly, so if you have two routers, one with one, let's say one ISP's SIM and the other one with the different vendors' SIM, can they obviously say that means we can have dual SIM capabilities in one aspect, but also from two different, let's put it this way, suppliers.
MNOs.
So our first,
thank you for that.
Our product supports multi-carrier aggregation. So you could have two different ISPs or two different providers, and you could aggregate the bandwidth so you can have one big pipe.
That is brilliant.
Transmission, yeah.
No, that is actually a great aspect, especially for areas where we know certain carriers are stronger than others, and some carriers are stronger in certain areas than others. Or if you're having the case where you have more than one carrier in this case, or two carriers, you can almost get a nice pipe from where you get the best signal from.
Yes.
No, that is actually, I really like that aspect and that kind of functionality, because in today's world, I mean, that is always a difficulty. I don't know. I'm currently, I have two SIMs in my phone, just one for certain areas where I'm getting great connectivity and certain areas where, well, let's just say it's questionable. All right. So now, and just touching on that, I mean, that's a great feature as well. Now, obviously looking ahead here, and I mean, I want to just touch on the fact of some of the actual protocol side of things, because now we're just delving a little bit more into this. And now we mentioned earlier Profinet. Now I do know in your guys' product range as well, you have a thing called BACnet as well. Now I know myself and you, Sebastian, we've had a bit of a small discussion about this in terms of the Profinet and BACnet structures. And I want to just go a little bit further into those protocols. And obviously with some of these units, obviously which units do cover this, and where would these, what is their main purpose in this aspect?
So I think if you look at, BACnet, also, a ring type, very good in the ring topology. Also, we're looking at, those type of automation systems, for redundancy. That's where our products, if you have multiple of our products in that topology, working with that protocol, you are going to have the communication across your network to cater for, your control, your monitoring, whatever you need to do across that network.
Now, I know with BACnets and some of the Profinet stuff, and this is something as well, is obviously building management, which is something I know we haven't really touched on here yet. And I want to touch a little bit on that because I know this is actually, I think, a perfect fit with sometimes Teltonika can actually, we can make use of that in certain things like your HVAC systems, because that runs in certain Profinets and BACnet structures, right? They're still running RS232 in some cases, and some of them are running 485. And some of these are also covering a lot of these aspects where you can now monitor, get that information from the device and actually do certain things like do certain controls, right? Now, from the Teltonika side, I know quite a couple of your guys' devices do cover this. Now, I would assume that's also sitting in your RUT range.
Yes.
So it's more on the RUT range and also that aspect, which is actually fantastic. Now, from that part, I need to just go into this because this is something I found very interesting. And it also comes to our MQTT and IoT side. All right. So we spoke obviously now and mentioned about dealing with obviously BACnets and Profinets. Yeah. And I know you're laughing, Sebastian, trust me. You know where we're going with this, right? So BACnets and Profinet, when it comes to obviously managing buildings, right? We have multiple sensors, we got multiple aspects. Now I know a lot of your devices have MQTT built into them. Right. Could you guys just elaborate a little bit more on the MQTT side? And I mean, for some of our viewers, I'm not too sure if everyone is dealt with MQTT, but in the IoT space, I know that is quite a big thing as well.
Yeah. So MPTT is generally, again, getting a bit technical. If you look at the OSI model, OSI layer, this is where the protocol exists in the application layer, right? Because it's sensory information that's being relayed from a sensor through a network to a receiving device. So, you normally have this server client type configuration. The sensor is the server and your receiving device is the client. So if you want to check your temperature in your lounge, you can connect. You will always be receiving that data on your app. So whenever the sensory information is being broadcast, it will come through to your app. When your app is open, it will be ready to receive. So MQTT as a protocol is being used wide scale largely in building management systems for sensors, for contactors, for HVAC systems, for aircon, temperature sensing, and also relaying some control back to the equipment. So MQTT has a lot of those capabilities in large scale apartments or even in like offices. So there's that control is built into our product to allow for easy transmission of the protocol across different realms.
That is actually great. And I mean, just to think about it, I mean, I know Yakarin, you've brought quite a few devices here. Just let's have a look at some of these, if you don't mind. I mean, so as you mentioned, this is the RUT 906. And I can see on the back here, you've got obviously a 232 connector, you've got some wires, you've got a 485 hardwired and a pin connector here as well. Now, just some of the other devices you have here, do you mind just giving us a little bit of an overview on some of these products? And I know most of these products we've already got in stock here at Nology. So let's see what's we have here.
Let's start with the most simple one, the TSW.
So this is one of our unmanaged switches.
Yes, it's an unmanaged 5-port 10100 switch. It's DIN-rail, as you can see, automatically built onto the enclosure. Yes, this is a very cost-effective switch. It also features 2 IOs in the power in your power slot over there. And yeah, so this is one of the more cost-effective switches. It's also very ideal to mount into. If you could see, if you
that you can put into a small little cabinet.
Yeah, if you want to mount it into an industrial enclosure where you.
Yes, you can put that right next to your PLC.
Yes, it slots in perfectly. Yeah, and then we've just got unmanaged switches, which are also 10100. We've got these in a gigabit version as well on the 8 ports, and then we've got PoE as well.
Yeah, look at this, is great.
So that is the 5-port version, and then we've got the
Parts of
8 ports as well. It has the SFP ports.
So you've got SFPs on those as well. So, and those are 1 gig SFP slots.
Yes, they are.
Does it allow for link aggregation at all?
No, not on the unmanaged switches, but on the managed switches. Yes,
that's great.
So we did launch a Profinet managed. It's the TSW 202 and the 212. The one is just the PoE version, and the other is the non-PoE version. Yes. So that's our switches in a nutshell. And then I also brought a gateway, which is quite a small device.
That is very small.
This is the TRB 245. There's also a 246 and a 255 and a 256. The main differences between the ranges are this one is normal cellular. There's no.
I also noticed on this unit as well, you also got SMA connectors here too.
Yes, that's for the mobile and the GNSS antennas.
So we can attach extra antennas and external antennas from wherever it is.
Yeah. So the in the gateway range, the TRB 256 features NB-IoT, and then also it operates in the 450 megahertz band as well.
Brilliant. So, now, I just want to just touch on something quickly. You mentioned also they got power here. Now, obviously, the power configurations here. This can also be powered with DC power. Some of these.
Yes. So our devices are powerable. Most of them are 9 to 30 watts volts DC. Yes, so it also is able to handle the slight fluctuations in voltage received from your power
Obviously,
source.
yeah.
Because some of the power sources in industrial environments aren't clean
Never
power. You never get a pure sine wave. It's just
It's never
it's
pure
challenging.
numbers, it's always up and down, right? And
Yeah.
especially as you mentioned, you're using one unit in mobile in vehicles. And I know with vehicles, you're running an alternator and so forth, that obviously gives you a certain amount of power, but sometimes also that can also fluctuate a little bit like that.
Yes.
All right. So before we continue, I think let's just have a look here. We have some questions coming up on our screen. So let's have a look here from Leon Lawrence. So hi, Leon. I have a question. The current issue with Teltonika is going offline on the RMS, but the device is working and have internet connection. Is there a permanent solution to this? It happens with random devices and it comes online on the portal after a day or two. So I think we've got some technical people on our call as well.
Yeah.
So
Dalmantis, I think, should be able to maybe assist Leon.
Mantis, if you want to unmute yourself and maybe jump in. We just quickly, guys, we're just having a chat. There's Diamantis. He's popping. He is there, but he's unmute. All right, let's see if we can get you unmuted there, Diamantis. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for having the session.
Welcome.
So narrowing down the issues with RMS, usually the issues are not actually with RMS, but rather maybe the mobile connection, maybe the signal is quite weak in the area where the device is located. It's quite hard to say what the exact issue here is, but perhaps we can diagnose this further. I don't know, maybe Jacqueline can arrange a contact with us directly after the remote session to diagnose this issue in particular.
Yes, we can.
And we will look
Definitely.
into that.
Yeah, thank you.
Leon, thanks so much, Diamantis. Leon, we will definitely get in contact with you after the webinar, and we'll see what we can do to get you in contact with Teltonika and Diamantis, see how we can help you fix your problem. All right. So now I wanted to touch on a bit more looking ahead in terms of the trends that you guys are finding, and obviously the future of networking and how Teltonika is going to position themselves to capitalize on, IoT space and obviously networking in a whole in the industrial world.
So I think, like I mentioned earlier on, we were looking at the innovations that's taking place in firstly communication technology, low power, longer distance. And also, I think, when you're also talking about the new trends taking place, we're talking about AI as a very important aspect. We're talking about AI, IoT.
AI has become a buzzword of late.
Right now, when we're looking at communication taking place on the edge of the network, you want decisions to be made and predictions to be made at the edge. So that's where we're looking at, a lot of these new types of technologies are being integrated at the edge on our products. So, you have faster response times, low latencies, quicker decision making that can take place. So also when you're talking about, artificial intelligence, certain levels of the decision making needs to be added into the equipment. And this is the beauty of Teltonika products, is that because we use root OS OpenWRT, we are able to allow integrators to integrate their code, integrate their APIs into our equipment on the edge.
But my techie part of me is loving that.
Yeah, so I think one of the challenges, and this is something that's taken the IoT industry a long time, is cross communication and protocol adoption. It's like everybody's got their own proprietary standards, and now we're saying everything should be open, everything should be able to communicate. That's why we cater for a large number of encryption technologies, a large number of different protocol stacks that's integrated in our products. And that's where the future is. The future is cross communication across multiple platforms.
And I think we've just answered Clinton's question, if I look at that, because he's wondering if we can only use it on proprietary product.
No, it's open.
Yeah, it's open.
Yeah.
You can with RMS Connect, you can connect third-party devices.
Oh, that is great. So, Clinton, I hope that answers your question for you there. So obviously now we're going to just go into a bit more here. So as you mentioned, yes, we currently have Wi-Fi 5 devices and we are bringing out a Wi-Fi 6 device.
Yes, it actually recently launched. It is the Root C50. It's brand new. It's a 5G device, and it also has Wi-Fi 6. It is also a industrial enterprise router, because you can use it in enterprise applications as well for your office failover and things like that.
Okay, tell me a bit more on the enterprise side.
On the enterprise side, okay, so what we generally use Teltonika for in enterprise is for failover.
Okay.
For instance, at Teltonika's office in South Africa, we use a Root X11 as our failover connection. We also, it is a dual SIM device, so we also have 2 providers in there. And then the moment that something does occur with our fiber, it takes a few seconds and our Teltonika comes up, and then we
then you connect it back to the world again.
Yes, and then as soon as the other connection comes back up again, the Teltonika goes into rest mode, and then the fiber will be. So that is an application that is rather widespread in our area, unfortunately, because we do not have the reliability of fiber.
Okay.
Our fiber is there, but it's not as reliable as it should be.
I think to add to that as well, like the Root C50, that product can cater also for satellite connections on the WAN side, where if your satellite link or your fiber link goes down, that failover takes place on the mobile side, and that's where you can also create prioritization in your traffic. You want certain protocols to go through on fiber, and then communication to take place on your cellular side. So that's the configuration. Also, some of our products, you can actually configure the switch, or you configure the ports to be WAN or LAN. So you can actually create multiple WAN ports, to cater for multiple WAN devices.
No, that's great, man. I think just going through this, the more I'm sort of looking at this, they do look rugged. Now, in terms of your IP ratings, which is something I have to touch on. So obviously Teltonika being in the rugged space, and we know we can maybe chuck it out a window, but I'm not doing that today. Sorry, audience. But in the case of the IP ratings, can you discuss, guys, just elaborate a little bit on your IP ratings and where they fit in and overall on the devices?
So our devices have an IP rating that ranges between IP30 and IP57. And then we also offer antennas that enable IP67 on our devices. These are outdoor pole mountable antennas. They fit it's like a dome type antenna, and then there's a slot at the bottom for our router. So you just have to run one cable up, power the device through passive PoE on LAN port 1, and you have a fully outdoor solution.
And I like the fact that you have passive PoE built into your devices, because it makes it a lot easier than running power cables, running DC cables, running excessive cables that you don't actually need to run. You can literally run one network cable, passively power up your device, and configure and run everything else as you need, right?
Yes.
And also, going from IP30, as you say, all the way up to almost IP57, we're covering your main aspects. Your temperature ranges between, obviously, that covers the -40 to the +60.
+75.
+75.
Yes.
Wow. So then it'll work in the middle of the Karoo.
It will indeed.
Last time I went there, I thought I was baking, but hey. So when it comes to obviously IP, obviously +75, that covers everything. We dust proof then. I won't say we're full water resistant.
No, unfortunately not. But in the environments that most of our products are used, it typically goes into a control box where other devices are also housed.
And it's interesting you mentioned that. So I noticed we have a bit of time here when we're going to open up quickly to the audience for some questions. So one thing you mentioned there in terms of going as being small devices and going to a cabinet, right? And I mentioned, and I touched a little bit on it being obviously on PLCs and SCADA, which is something I know a lot of people don't play with, a lot of people haven't been involved with. I myself, well, I was thrown into it by going onto a mine and being sent underground. It was fun and not fun at the same time, right? You realize at the surface temperature, it's 30 degrees and you go underground, it's like 50 degrees and you realize how hot it is. Now, I know when it comes to some of these devices in those racks, PLCs and SCADA is something we haven't actually discussed briefly. So I just want to touch on that just briefly, because these devices are all capable of connecting to PLC devices, connecting to a SCADA network, which is very massive, and it's a big, predominantly used device within every industrial plant and mining aspect. Do you guys mind just touching a little bit briefly on that before we open up the floor to more questions from the audience?
So I think if I take the mining side, as an example, we're looking at, our products firstly, supporting the right communication protocol. Secondly, also having the right level of ruggedness. And here we're looking at, your IP rating for dust proof, right? And a lot of these mining environments, there is a lot of dust. It depends on how thick the actual molecule of dust is. Right?
That is true.
And that's where our products come in, where we have IP30, which is the basic. And then you also have egress and ingress of higher rating of IP40 going up to IP57, as Yakurin mentioned. So that's catering for you're looking at like slag, very, very minute amounts of dust that's accumulating on the mine.
And when you go into some of these mines, I went to a mine about a year ago. And you're right.
Yeah.
Certain aspects, especially if you're further up in Africa in sections where the copper belt is, for example, that copper belt dust is it's fine, it's red, but it gets everywhere. It gets literally in everything you can think of.
Yes.
No one, only when you go to obviously a place where the copper belt is, you understand how dense that sand can be. And I mean, even in South Africa with some of our mines as well, I mean, out in Rustenburg area, some of that dust that accumulates, you can be there 100%. The chrome dust as well is also fine. That at least doesn't turn the whole city red.
Yes.
But it still gets in everywhere as it possibly does.
Yeah.
So, but guys, I must say, let's open the questions a little bit to some of our audience that's on here, that's still around. So I just want to find out, apart from obviously Clinton and Neil and so forth, is there anyone else that's obviously got some questions around, what sort of aspects, if you've been dealing in the industrial world, in dealing with the industrial network connectivity, what sort of aspects have you guys been dealing with, and how can we obviously assist you and help you with Teltonika, guys? Floor is open. Please pop your questions through on the Q&A chat area, and we'll assist you accordingly.
I think while we wait for questions,
Yeah,
I just want to add just a little bit of a roadmap about from Teltonika.
I love roadmaps.
Yes. So we are launching a router that features the M12 connectors. We've also recently launched a router that has an eSIM. It's the Route T41 eSIM. It's one of our existing routers where we just added on a eSIM, and that capability will be transferred to most of our other devices as well. We're just putting the first products out there at the moment, and then we'll add that to the rest of the range as well as time evolves.
When can we expect an eSIM device?
So the Route 241 eSIM is already in manufacturing.
Okay.
And it will be available in South Africa within about a month. And yes. And
so we're working about 2 months to be on the safe side.
Yes. And then we on to the shipping and e-costs and all of that as well, yes. And then
regulatory bodies that need to say, yes, we're happy.
Yes. So then we also are launching larger format switches where we will feature 24 and 48 port switches that are rack mountable. And so we've also been doing some R&D on our 5G, and there will be quite a few products
That
being
is going to
launched.
be very interesting, especially with the eSIM aspect. And it's something that's also very interesting. And I mean, eSIM is quite available already across the globe already as is.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially if you are dealing in various different areas and countries and so forth. And I mean, in our case, being in South Africa, yes, eSIM is being brought here eventually. I have seen some chatter about it across the news fronts. But the thing is we're not here yet. But in certain African countries, I know in certain Africa side, they really have these capabilities. And that's a great thing because it doesn't matter then where you're deploying these units. It's easy to get an eSIM for that specific country.
So one of the benefits of eSIM is that one of our products, the 2-for-1, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it can support 7 eSIMs.
7.
Yes.
So we've got 7 redundant network.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's
I see
exactly.
redundancy is the best thing.
So
ever.
eSIM, using an eSIM platform on the Route 2-for-1 can give you 7 levels or 7 different types of redundant mobile networks. And you can also do bandwidth aggregation, multi-carrier aggregation.
So we can create one big part.
Right, exactly. So those are all the benefits. And I think one of the other things to mention is, like in the rugged space, especially like when you're looking at transportation, one of the products that has had a lot of, adoption is our rugged PoE switches,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially when you're looking at, surveillance on mine trucks, on dump trucks, right? And that's another area. And then also, in some areas in very harsh environments, we're looking at rugged PBX solutions where your telephone needs a PoE.
PBX solution.
Yeah. So your telephone has a PoE,
Well, most of the IP phones
Yes,
these days
so
are
the
powered by
IP phones are all powered by those types of PoE switches. So surveillance, communication, those are 2 areas where we see some adoption taking place.
And that's great because I know, especially with certain aspects, and like you mentioned, CCTV as well, when it comes to a lot of our trucks and mobile aspects today, even if we look at some of the industries in the mining side, yes, you're putting cameras out there that need to have certain amounts of ruggedness,
Yeah.
but also how difficult is it to run our power cabling? How is it to run these sort of aspects? And having a device that you can just mount right there that can be powered, it's got PoE built in, you can power it off a DC system,
Yes.
DC power from a generator, whether it be from a solar system even.
Yeah.
It makes it very simple and very easy.
Yeah, for the CCTV market, though, we've got the ODT 140, and also soon coming the ODT 500, which would be a 5G version of this.
Oh, nice.
It is a little outdoor CPE. It does not have Wi-Fi capabilities. However, it does have PoE out. So
Okay.
you can communicate and power your camera through a single device. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. And obviously then route your stuff accordingly through to your server and all your backup data is accordingly there.
So I think another thing to add to that is that when you're talking about the surveillance vehicles, the biggest problem we normally have is mission oscillator.
Yes, we did talk about vehicles earlier.
That you lose your connectivity. So we have a product called a BAT 120 that's kind of like a UPS for the router and can power whatever device is connected on PoE to that. We'll be able to. So when you switch your ignition off, you still have power for like a long time, and you can, and about 6 hours, and you can still pull your data,
And that's
before you shut down the system.
Now, as you said,
That use case is specifically used in ambulances.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
that's a great thing because, as you say, it's got 6-hour power, 6-hour runtime. Obviously,
Yeah.
Teltonika devices are all energy efficient.
Yes.
Yeah.
Energy efficiency is obviously a key factor in today's world,
Yes, it definitely.
especially with our power fluctuations, our ESCOM, and obviously being in vehicles and that sort of industry, right?
Yeah.
All right, so guys, no, I must admit, thank you so much for coming through and discussing with us about Teltonika and bringing this brand, and Nology now is one of the distributors of it. And thank you to some of the guys in the audience here and some of the questions we've had so far. I think on that note, I think I'm just going to let you guys, if there's any closing comments you guys want to make or anything you want to just throw in there last about Teltonika and something that's coming. I mean, we mentioned a few things. Future roadmap, which is great. I'm like looking forward to that when the ODT 500 gets here and that other units. the RUTX C50. Was it C50?
C50, yes.
C50. I keep getting the X and the C confused. It's okay. It happens. It is Friday. So I want to thank you guys for that. But I just want to end on a note here. And yeah, going down this whole IoT space and going down the technology, coming from the industrial world, dealing with products that go between the industrial world, the commercial world, the enterprise world, all in one brand. It's amazing. And I love how we've got the redundancy built in. The redundancy, the scalability, the efficiency on the energy side, the scalability.
Yeah.
This puts Teltonika in a different league to anything else I've ever actually come across. And I'm really actually excited to get involved with this brand. I'm very excited to be involved dealing with this brand. And the fact I can add sensors to it. Trust me, I'm going to probably turn my house into a different world. I already have a lot of it automated, but now I'm going to make it industrially automated. So, guys, I want to thank you both.
Thank you, Damien.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, Sebastian. You guys have been amazing this morning. And thank you for coming through to the Nology offices and joining us on our webinar.
Thank you very much, Damien. We look forward to the partnership with Nology and obviously their client base. And yeah, let's see what we can automate.
100%. Thank you. And thank you, Diamantis, for being technical on abroad. Really appreciate it. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you very much. Thank you for such an amazing event.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, sir.